I think 120 people have signed up. But if you're feeling a wee bit generous, if you could donate further, the link will be in the email tomorrow. You'll probably get that tomorrow, the recording. So tonight we've got Ger Kennedy, who is, he's nicknamed Dr. Ice. And I first knew Ger through, I just saw him on Instagram and realized that he had done a lot for in ice swimming himself, and he'd gone to Antarctica and actually led the swim to Antarctica in 2020. You might be aware of that. You'll have seen a lot of publicity around Kath Pendleton. That was the swim she was on. So that was organised by Ger, and there was lots of other swimmers with him as well that got ice miles in. Ger is also, he's an official for the IISA as well. And he was the Man of the Year of WOWSA in 2019, was it, Ger? And these
I was runner-up. Yeah.
I thought you were the Man of the Year.
There you go.
That title.
I'll get that next year, hopefully.
and you know, his swimming, it's ice swimming, and you also did, I think, under the ice for 52 meters. Is that correct? Did I read that right somewhere?
Yeah, it was 25 meters each way. So I wouldn't say free. It wasn't fully 50 meters, but breath hold 25 meters and then back 25 meters.
Nice.
So,
yeah. Don't try and downplay it. It was under the ice.
I know. I think I've started a new craze there now, actually. That was 2015.
And one of your bigger achievements that I remember as well is that you know the Ocean 7 challenge. You know, you've done an ice mile in lots of different countries. Well, 7 different countries. The highest one being, was it Chile?
Chile was 3,000 meters. Yeah. It's an ice mile in Santiago.
Yeah, just incredible. We've basically, you know, got the main man. He was the king of ice last year in our webinar, and Dr. Ice tonight. But we're also joined by Dr. Darren. So we've got Dr. Ice and Dr. Darren. And Darren is the clinical lead for the Helicopter Emergency Medical Service in Northern Ireland, the charity in Northern Ireland. So Ger, you can explain how you and Darren got together and how all this came about, but thank you both so much for coming tonight. Welcome, Darren. Welcome, Ger. It's kind of over to you now.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Just a couple of thanks for a kick-off. Thanks to Marsh Hebrides, H2O Training, Irish Long Distance Swimming Association, Infinity Challenge Swimming, Dr. Darren himself, and obviously my swimming team, crew, supporters who got us to the start line, obviously the Gavin Game Foundation, who kind of kept us, inspired us to keep going during the difficult times in training. So just a quick thanks in case I forget anyone there. So look, we just wanted to share all the details of the North Channel Extreme Winter Swimming Challenge. First of all, just to give you an idea of the concept, how it started. The first email I sent actually to Padraig Mallon was November 2018. And so I was already thinking of this is actually quite possible. And obviously the North Channel is the most difficult channel in the world, in my opinion, and one of the coldest. And I kind of went, right, I could have picked December, but I had January as a kind of a way out there concept, you know. So I've been in touch with Padraig a few times over the years, and we discussed it. And in fact, I nominated an international team at one stage of kind of, I would call them superstars in the cold, because I didn't have the quality of swimmers here in Ireland to get to that kind of level of endurance in cold water, not ice water now, cold water. So anyway, the one thing about COVID is that it brought a lot of new people to me in Sandy Cove, and I was able to see different strengths of people and realize that I have a new breed of swimmers around me that I was possibly able to get a team out of this bunch of, I would call them walrus swimmers. And so I kind of reignited the whole thing with Infinity, and I kind of had selected a team from my own pool of winter swimmers. And So we contacted Irish Long Distance Swimming Association, and in collaboration, we came together, and I was able to select the process of the team, and we kind of had some basic rules before we actually drafted the rules of how we're actually going to do this safely and not jeopardize any association or channel companies or high risk or what levels. So there was some very deep discussions. A special thanks to all the committee who were actually, they thought they were finished with channel swimming till I threw this on the table, and it took a lot of their time, a lot of personal time and meetings behind the scenes that got us to the start line. So I really appreciate that. So again, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of knowledge, a lot of collaboration, and of course then me being an expedition leader, I think my qualities and my good record stood to me that people would believe in me to say, yeah, look, Ger, we're going to back you. And so, you know, that's the kind of concept where it all came from. It didn't come overnight. It's been a period of nearly 4 years, actually. I think really, well, 3.5 years. So anyway, we had set of ground rules to follow, and we started our training principles, and of course I introduced our training principles. So we kind of had to, all my knowledge of cold water, I'm not saying icy water, I didn't want people going ice swimming. I want them to be able to swim distance in cold water. So, you know, to do 1 hour in 7 or 8 degrees was the project. How do we get there? How do I condition swimmers? I knew I could get there, thankfully, because I've had a lot of training, but that's not up to me. I need a team around me. So with that, most of the swimmers had done about a year's training with me, either through winter and then progress in the summer into marathon swimming and back into winter again. And I think that's really important that you had at least one winter with me, or had a pedigree of winter swimming with me, or a knowledge that I know a good bit about you. And the beauty of that is that when I picked the actual 5 other swimmers, I was literally training with them every weekend. So the visual of each swimmer and their weaknesses and their strengths was very clear, even though we're going to show you some spreadsheets of our training, but you can't beat visual training in this kind of environment that people are suffering, are they not able for it, the recoveries are difficult, their clothes are incorrect. We were honing everyone's skills, and they were honing their own skills into be able to become these kind of extreme swimmers, you know.
Yeah, you have to get to know them really well, basically.
You got to get to know really well. And I think, you know, I know some international swimmers would have loved being on this gig, but it's, you cannot beat what's in front of you. You know, I'm swimming with them. You just see everything. You just, as a team leader, as a captain, you see everything. And some swimmers didn't make it out of a pool of 8. 2 didn't make it for different reasons. And we had to push forward. And then we had some qualifying swims to do. So I just show you this. Let me show you some of the, not the training programs. It's let's see now. Now see, I test my skills now normally. Okay. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. And this is a bit new to me. So just the okay. So watch out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You see that, guys? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So just give you an idea. Sorry, I'm new to this kind of stuff, but anyway, I'm working with. So anyway, just give you an idea. This is a simple log that we started from the 1st of November. You can see the dates over here. You can see all the 6 swimmers are there, and you know the kind of stuff we were doing. and just give you an idea, any of the colored spots there are basically 10 degrees or lower. So we were having these combined logs. Each swimmer used to log in and was able to see at least where they're at in their swimming ability with the temperatures. And you can see it's getting lower and lower as we go down, and continues on right to December. So we have a couple of below 5 degree swims, but you can see the consistency of most of the swimmers here are very much the same. This is important information that we have, that I was able to. I don't want to be looking at people's garments. Some people don't have garments, that's fine, or kind of GPS watches, but you should know your distance of your course. You should know where you're at in your swim. And there is some accuracy in local buoys. So there's a lot of information you can get even before you have a smartwatch. So these logs gave me a lot of knowledge, and was able to, if I see a kind of slight bit of weakness, I would generally contact the swimmer and say, look, where are you at? You can actually see with me here, I actually got COVID on 25th of December, which didn't help me, my run up. Oh. And another swimmer, Dave Berry, he also got COVID 3 weeks before the swim, maybe 2 weeks before the swim. So we were dealing with the COVID issues, and we were dealing with, can we get to the start line without contacting COVID? So we had to become a swimming bubble ourselves and the crew, 9 of us, and we literally had to swim in a bubble. So anyone wanted to swim with us, we wouldn't allow it. We had to remove ourselves completely into kind of more isolation, because we were afraid of actually, if anyone got COVID, the protocol was that there was a swimmer, Edward Bogg, and he was a direct replacement for anyone who didn't make the start line.
All these additional preparations with COVID involved as well, yeah. It
was very difficult. We kind of shared information and make it directly as possible, with finance as well and stuff. That it's all part of an expedition leader's role. An expedition leader's role is to discuss the finer detail, which I think that's the difference between a swim of this magnitude and not getting there. So again, with COVID, as you can see, we were kind of progressing on and on, and then we were kind of getting closer to the start line. So
that's an impressive training plan there. I'm seeing some of you are swimming every day, at least 2 kilometers every day, as much as you can. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff there. The team were amazing. They really were. They were very, very strong, and they got stronger as we gave them more tasks to do. So we introduced a sort of a brave training plan. You can see here where we were under IISA medicals, which now are ILDSA medicals, but we hadn't got time to do the ILDSA medicals, so we had to use IISA at the time. And these are high-level medical with ECGs. So you can see the way we structured, we had a chat about the whole, what happened each week. Different names we mentioned, sea temperatures, and I think it's just, it's a lot of work for me, but I try and do it as best I can. So we can just share this out. And the team have access to all these logs. So whenever I update, it updates automatically. So it's a pretty shared document that, and also we were sharing this with Irish Long Distance Swimming Committee. They were shared on this too, so they could actually see us building. So we're trying to be transparent in our training program, that we're setting a precedence so we can, give them the confidence to give us the green light.
Yeah, I think we've got excellent information there. We've only seen a couple of bits of it so far, and I know that Darren had been taking measurements as well during the swim. But yeah, that's impressive, and like you say, setting a precedent for the way forward for the next relay teams.
Yeah, exactly. So I think these are very, very simple, very free stuff. That's the kind of training side. Now, when we went into what we had to do before I get into the medical stuff with Darren, is what we had to do in training wise. We proposed that we were going to do, the LDSA proposed that we to do an hour an hour in, say 10 degrees, 1 hour in, 5 hours out, and 1 hour back in again.
Wow.
That was proposed, which obviously we agreed, but we actually done 1 hour in, 3 hours out, and 1 hour in.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 hours seems quite a long break for a 1 hour after a 1 hour swim, but
it's a long break. Now we the way I train is try and do things much harder than they're actually going to happen. So we done 1 hour in, and we were doing it in 8 degrees, 8.2, and then we were doing 3 hours out, and we had to stay in the position, stay in the locality. Don't go to your car, don't go for walks. You had to warm up in your spot. You know, not like in a kind of a 3 meter radius. You had to warm up, and you had to conduct yourself in a confined spot as pretending yourself you're in a boat. That became more structured as we went along, because realizing where we were going to a confined boat. So we had to do 2 of those. So there was 2 of these, 1 hour in plus 3 hours out and 1 hour in. So each swimmer had to do this, and I did recommend that we keep temperatures real, like as in, you know, anything. The first one is below 10, which should be really very easy technique. The way of conditioning should be, and the second one then is below 8, or just on the margins of 8. I think it's realistic of actually what's coming to you. We had decided that below 7 degrees there'd be no swim. I kind of came up with that myself, because I just know cold water, what it can do for you in a long period of time, and I don't think the multiple swims, you might do one, but you won't get multiples at that kind of temperature. It was serious business, you know.
Yeah. I can only relate in a wetsuit in 11 degrees, doing a relay personally, and I had probably 3 hours out, and I struggled getting back in after every 3 hours.
Yeah, getting back in is really, really tough. So we came up with kind of a hard training regime, because I wanted the swimmers to put yourselves now in a boat and perform this task. It's really hard, you know. So to get them prepared this way, mentally, physically, I think this was my job to make sure they're ready, because if obviously, you know, rotation in swims, the rotation was nominated, and if they missed that rotation, then the swim was over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a 6-person team, not 5. The ILDSA had allowed a 6-person team only, which I agree. And so when anyone missed the rotation, it doesn't matter. It was swim over technically. Okay. You might be able to swim on, but there was no valid ratification, or observer would class it as a DNF, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a lot riding on the line, and the rotation then, that was a difficult job for me to pick the rotation. And I only chose the rotation at the last week of to announce that to the swimmers. They were all guessing who is this and who is that, because there was a possibility of somebody doing, maybe 2 swimmers doing 3 rotations at 1 hour in the North Channel, or so I had to look at different strengths, not technically on speed, but on physical endurance in the cold, and able to withstand a lot of endurance in the cold, but have a limited speed, which is fine. That's the way I am. I'm not particularly fast swimmer. You know, if I can get 3K an hour, you lose 20% in the cold, so you're looking at 2.7 an hour in the cold water. If I have somebody that's kind of close to that and be able to take that kind of recovery and endurance, well, then that's my number 2. And also on to number 3. So the selection process was it was, I wouldn't say difficult. It just took me a week before to actually decide.
Yeah.
And it's something for any relay teams in the future, that to understand where you're going and it's easy to say, oh yeah, I'll do 3 rotations, but believe me, when it's the dark dead at night and its air temperature is 2 degrees and you're told to get back in for 3rd rotation, it will test your will, you know.
I'm sure, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's,
so anyway, I was trying to prepare the swimmers from all my years of knowledge to adapt. I was in touch with Infinity and Padraig and Jacqueline and Milo, and exceptional to me over the years. We discussed the boat and we discussed what we have on it. And we decided actually with the type of boat we're going to be using, it's an 11.5 meter boat, which to me was plenty. We actually had to remove some seats so we could actually practice our recovery and how we do our recovery and how we perform our recovery process, which is we were practicing and in detail. So again, we were all working hand in hand, having gas heaters on board a boat. It's not made up for it. It's difficult. It's gas, it's a flame. So, and again, with Flask, there's no official hot water sinks. We brought a lot of flasks with us, about a big standing flasks, and we had access then to a small camping stove. But again, in heavy seas, that would be a no-no. So we had a lot of variables going on, a lot of, constructive how we do it. And I think with the knowledge of Infinity, myself, I think we came to kind of conclusions and answers. What's the simplest, best way and safest way to, first of all, get hot water and obviously protect the safety of everyone on the boat,
Yeah. And the space on the boat, you mentioned you'd removed a couple of seats there. So there was six swimmers. There's Darren and there's the Infinity crew. So I'm guessing very small area.
Yeah, we got 6 swimmers. We had 3 crew. We had Dr Darren and Infinity had 3 crew.
Yeah.
So what's that?
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of people walking around.
There's not. I mean, obviously had a North Channel observer route as well, official observer. It's a lot of people. Thankfully, it's a long boat. I had no problem with it. I've been on, plenty of boats. It's a fast boat. It's a problem. We knew we had 300 horsepower engines to get back to safety. Yeah. We knew any problems, we were going straight back to Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
We were happy. I was quite happy with the setup. There was talk of 2 boats at one stage, but we kind of weaned that out because I've been down the road before with 2 boats, and it adds another dynamic of problems that you don't think is there, but they are there. So thankfully we didn't go that direction, and we were allowed to go with one single boat. And definitely a fast boat was a huge one, especially when they're coming home. It's brilliant, But in case of medical emergency, we had that ready, and so the boat was perfect, absolutely perfect.
I'm assuming there was a cabin on the boat. I think I've seen a picture of it, but Andrea's just asking that question. Did you have shelter from the weather?
Yeah, there's a canopy over the boat. It's a canopy. It's quite nice. Again, we had a small gas heater, which actually brought the ambient temperature up a small bit, which was fine. There's not much to lie down. There is a small, I wouldn't say a bunk, I would say a storage point with the bow. And it was difficult because you're risking getting seasickness. So we had to be concerned about swimmers going in there. I went in there, I got my head down for whatever, 20 minutes. I'm okay with seasickness, but you're susceptible to that. So it's a tough ask. You're sitting on a kind of jockey seats. There's not a whole lot of space for 14 people. Yeah. So, but to be honest with you, when you're in the water and if you hone your skills on your equipment and your gear, and you're not bringing the kitchen sink, basically, you can actually work in a confined space quite easily. But as long as you have your gear correct and you don't have multiple bags and bring everything, you know. Obviously the same with food. We had one box for swimmers for food, one box for crew, and that's it. And that's the way I work like that, because that's it. Whatever fits in that box goes. It doesn't fit in the box, doesn't go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
I think future winter relay swimmers will be interested in what's in that box. you know.
It's very basic stuff. I mean, soup and porridge, pre-made sandwiches, lots of tea, carbohydrate drinks, and the one thing that everyone lacked was hydration. Which, you know, was trying to make sure you drink tons of water. You'd be surprised how much fluids you actually require when you're pushing your body to this level. You know, so hydration tablets, I'd advise as well. So tons of that. And if you don't, just put a liter in front of you and hydrate up. And again, simple foods, very simple stuff. It works, you know what I mean? People cross channels on Bovril. To me, it works. You don't need on relays especially, but definitely, you know, good solid soup and stuff. So
yeah.
Sure. Can I just ask a quick question? With all the training that you were doing leading up to it, did nutrition play much of a part in the lead up to the event?
Nutrition plan, Steve, as I've said.
Yeah. Did you consider? Did you just eat when you were hungry, or did you consider nutrition as part of it? Did you think about body fat, for instance, leading up to it?
Not really. No, I kind of done a couple of home videos here of what I'm bringing to other swimmers. Because I know obviously you're working from dry goods, so you need hot water to say fill a cup of soups or, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. I was kind of getting at the lead up to it, like the training, all these weeks of training and cold water swimming. In that stage there, were you thinking about nutrition at all, or was that not a...
Okay, I'm with you now. To me, I'm very simple. A good balanced diet, to be honest with you, is, you know, lots of protein. If you're pushing training like this, no particular order, to be honest with you. No nutrition plan as such, no. So it's no weighing chicken fillets.
More mental preparation and team preparation, I think, Ger, was it?
No, food is important, and I agree with Steve. But again, I just think if you eat correctly, train properly, and sleep properly, and repeat the process, and as long as you have support from your family who look after your basic needs in getting to the start line of these kind of gigs, well then you have those basic things. Absolutely, I think, yeah. And again, a bit of body fat in this game works. In cold water swimming, like your BMI, I'm about 29 BMI. Some swimmers are very similar, and then some then will be lower, like 26, 24. And obviously, the recoveries are more difficult because they've less BMI, less fat in the bodies. And to me, that's a natural thing in winter swimming, or, you know, it's something that it's been well documented, and somebody a bit chunky works in this game. Yeah.
So I was thinking, Darren, we've been very quiet with you so far, and I'm sort of thinking, have you ever done anything like this before? I know with your role, you'll have come across all kinds of things, but have you ever done anything like this before?
No, this was an absolute pleasure for me. So just a wee bit of declaration. Obviously, I really only got involved in this late in the game, and I think it's like all these things. It was just an opportunity which came up. I think the previous cover just maybe had to drop out for whatever reasons, and it all started over a text message from a friend at work with literally, there's a bunch of crazy swimmers who are looking to swim the North Channel and looking for medical cover. Are you free to help out? And I was like, it's like, you what? And you know, so because it just from a background, I'm a consultant in emergency medicine, but also work in with the Health Service in Northern Ireland here. So unfortunately, I see sort of people at their worst, and that's unfortunately what I can bring to something like this here. But background, I live close to North Channel. I live in Bangor, so it's just around the corner from where these guys were due to take off from Donegan. I love to see him a diver, so the idea of spending a day bob it up and down in a rib to me was an idea of a day of fun, to be honest. And it just, you talk about opportunities, January, Ger will talk about the weather later on, but it just happened to have a wee sort of a break in my work schedule, which allowed me to do this. And it was one of the most sort of immense experiences of my life to do this. And I don't say that lightly, but it was just a couple of things from it, never mind the medicine, but just I had gone into this really with a view that I just simply needed to lurk in the background, prepare for the worst, unfortunately. And a lot of my planning was the hope that none of what I had planned for had to be used. And thankfully, it really didn't. And it was just working out strategies for worst case scenario, immersion emergencies with these guys, with the time of the year, the water temperatures, and how we would deal with those emergencies. And so we had a lot of work going on in the background, just obviously having a medical emergency, North Channel, January, how would we deal with that? Where would we go to? And just through with my role and work, having various contacts in place to ensure that if the worst did happen, that we had a system in place. So that was all stuff that goes on in the background, which was all in place. And thankfully, we didn't need to do it. But obviously, then meeting up with Jared mentioned about like how else could I be of help and simply recording some observations. I thought, yeah, no problem at all. So really, my day was just a fun day of watching these guys, and we can talk about some of the sort of the observations a wee minute. But I think one of the key aspects I watched from this, Jared sent me all the preparations, so I got really a significant amount of confidence in these guys that they weren't, as Jared says, just enthusiastic amateurs. They put a huge amount of preparation in, and a lot of medical sort of prep beforehand, full medicals, ECGs, and give me confidence in these guys that they knew what they're at, because as I said, I know what those conditions can be like at the North Channel. But one of the key things we talk about is a group of swimmers. I was watching a high performing team in action, and I don't say that lightly. You know, Ger was leading this, but you had different personalities in that team, different individuals. But the cohesiveness, the bonding on that day, I think had a huge impact on how this team performed. It was almost like a party atmosphere on board that boat. and I mean that, you know, there was intenseness of obviously sort of the team supporting each other. Music played a huge part. I think the playlist, there was certainly various different sort of music tastes on that day, but they were inspiring to listen to. And just even towards the end of that swim was amazing. So just that's simply how I got involved in this here. And we can talk later on back to George just about some of the medical stuff. But all I really was involved in was measuring the temperatures, you know, of the guys and answer some basic observations. We just tried to keep it simple, like we did. I'm certainly not a cold water immersion physiology expert. You know, you've talked about, you've had Professor Mike Tipton on, guy I read a lot about, but I'm not, my expertise is not in that, but it's just if things went wrong, and thankfully it didn't. So all I was able to chip in, doing some basic observations. So there's some challenges now. It's like, well, how are we going to do this here? The guys are coming out of the water. But we just kept things simple. We were using a thermometer, and you know, which was sort of placed in the mouth and give us, you know, not necessarily a true reflection of core temperatures. We'll talk about that later, but allowed us to establish trends of the guys. But it was impressive to watch them. Certainly watching some of them coming out and go through their warming process. Seeing some of the temperatures, it did raise my sort of eyebrows and thought, Jesus, what have I got myself into with these guys that are recording temperatures of 27 degrees? And I'm going, my God, and they're going to go back in again. I was like, what? But as I say, Ger's described some of the, and to watch their rewarming process was fascinating. And then we can, you know, trends the guys did come up, but absolutely sort of, yeah, it was absolute pleasure to be involved in this here. And thankfully I didn't have to do too much. These guys.
I think having the responsibility of, you know, 6, I know one at a time, but 6 swimmers, you know, there's recovery, rewarming, you know, probably the responsibility of that, you know, I think that's a huge.
It was, because there's one time, so just remember specifically, it was getting dark. It's in the North Channel, it's January. I can't remember which of the guys it was, but they were over the Beaufort Dyke. One of the key elements people want to see going over the Beaufort Dyke, one of the deepest aspects of the North Channel. I think it was recording of about 310 meters of depth of water. And I'm watching the guy, it's getting dark. He's in the swimming trunks, nothing else. It's January, you have a water temperature of about 8 degrees, and he's got 300 meters of water below him. It's like, this is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was unbelievable just to be there and witness that. And Niamh's just saying just now, Colm's playlist, that's obviously a memorable one.
And I mean that was I think it's just watching it from outside the team has a huge element of psychological, team performance, psychological boost. It was important, and it really made I think it made a big difference to the cohesiveness and performance.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just a question came through a little while ago. We'll kind of wait until we got on to you, I think, David, Darren. But David Rogers just asking, any comments, suggestions regarding like medical cover for any future events, like one-way relays, two-way relays, or even a solo attempt in similar kind of conditions?
Well, as I say, I'm not an expert in this. I'm just being honest, Mike, but just really trying to help the guys out. Where I felt was a key element is like all things is preparation. It's not just, it's logistics, and it's all very well having, I think medical cover is important for something like this. Things can happen, and it's just better to be safe than sorry, but it's not necessarily dealing with the emergency itself, but it's the logistics. And the worst case scenario is not nice to talk about, but what my aspect of it was, how would I deal with somebody who developed a hypothermic medical cardiac arrest, the worst case scenario, in the middle of the North Channel. And if that's a route that people are looking to, to sort of undertake before, obviously Ger's the man to speak to, but from a medical point of view, I'm more happy to help out, because I work in this area, I live in this area, and I know some of the logistics of how you put plans in place to keep it safe. And it's so it's just two strands, is just preparing of how you'll deal with it on the day, but it's really just having prior sort of preparation, like all things of how it actually manage situation. As Jared mentioned, the sort of the route between Donegan to Port Patrick is, we'd sort of made a decision that if anything happened, even if we were close to Scotland, with the speed of the rib and the engines, we were just heading straight back to Northern Ireland into Donegan, and it was just a more densely populated area from a hospital network to allow us to, if anything is required. So just, but that was just, as I say, I'm not really an expert in the sort of cold swimming sort of
world. Now.
And I think one of the advantages I had with Ger was, obviously, like these things, weather windows. I think Mother Nature was kind to the guys in January. I was out walking the dogs there today, looked across the North Channel, thought, not a mission. So it's having that window opportunity, and from a medical point of view, just being close there just allowed that wee bit of flexibility of, the weather window.
No, it was. Thank you, Darren. I can't thank you enough, because it was a struggle for me to get the right medical person, and it was under our team. It wasn't ILDSA or Infinity's job. It was my job to get someone of standards, that somebody knows what they're doing. A few people fell through the cracks, and thankfully with my own network, I was able to reach out and find Darren, which is, his credentials are second to none. I mean, incredible. And I was delighted, and we just hit it off immediately, that I was able to share the knowledge and give Darren again the confidence in me and our team to be able to say, look, we are going to see, we were trained, here's our medicals, we shared everything with Darren to make sure he's comfortable with the liability of actually looking after us in case anything goes wrong. So that's really, really important. And anyone that attempts this, you've got to have the right medical person. To me, it has to be a senior doctor, or somebody that has massive cold water experience, because what if can go wrong very quickly in this game. And I just don't think anyone picking an EMT off a list doesn't really cut it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think we were so happy with Darren, and he was well able to both his equipment. He made everything look very simple and very easy, and he was obviously very relaxed kind of guy, as you can speak. So big nod to you, Darren. Thank you.
I suspect you might get more calls, Darren, after this.
Oh yeah, he's a specialist now.
So, Ger, tell us a little bit about the medical side of it, the observations.
Sure. So, yeah, I'll just share a screen if that's okay. Again, if I'm getting better at this now, so we will share this screen. Is that okay?
Yep.
So, many thanks to Declan Bradshaw, who prepared this for me. Just give you an idea of, this is myself. We have all the swimmers here. Down here, so I'm just going through myself for starters. So again, These are, I wouldn't say 100% accurate observations. So, but we didn't have thermometer pills to measure our true core. We had some basic mouth thermometers. So again, good for TV, maybe some of this, but I wouldn't say truly accurate. So, especially on the body temperature. So you can see where I went in. Darren was taking temperatures, and you can see the graph here. My body temperature after the first swim dropped to 27.9 Celsius. I'd say, maybe 29, maybe truly accurate. But you can see the way the graph goes. My body temperature then starts to rise over the period of 5 hours, and it gets back to maybe 34.2. So we were trying to get and obviously then our pulse ox as well. SPO. In fact, Darren, you want to take a few of those, Darren, if you want. You were kind of doing all the obs and stuff.
Yeah, so it's just obviously equipment-wise, we were simply using devices which you got, Ger, obviously, which I think they were relatively accurate because we've seen some trends. We're taking them sort of prior to the swim. Little probe just went into the mouth, and it was talking about just mouth back, wasn't really sort of, as you said, true core temperature, but they weren't bad, and it just allowed us to record the temperature, record them every 15 minutes. Oxygen saturations and pulse were simply measured with a little sort of finger sats probe, which did, there were some challenges that it would work occasionally. Then it seemed we get a trend occasionally where when you were coming out of the water, the sats probe would work, but then even for the first set of obs after it was obviously trying to pick it up through the fingers would struggle a wee bit. We tried initially with measuring your blood pressure just to see how that would go. That probably didn't work so well because, to be honest, it was doing a manual BP, and that just probably proved too challenging to do. Getting somebody, to be honest, even getting the blood pressure cuff on your arm while you're trying to get warm, and even somebody hearing your sort of hearing the blood pressure, kind of, I thought, am I hearing this, or is this my own blood pressure going through the roof here, trying to sort of deal with this here? So we basically made a decision. I thought there's not much, isn't worthwhile doing it. Sort of one of my challenges was like, these guys need to get warmed up. They have their regime, and I was just conscious of getting in the way at times by doing the observations, knowing they had their own routine. There's a wee comment I picked up there about that I knew what the recovery was like. Again, the team, because they, as you say, there was various sizes, and guys had warned me about some of the guys with some of the leaner guys with the smaller BMIs. I was warned. And I was taking the reassurance from this team that had trained together, worked together. Darren, don't worry, these guys will shake. They're shakers was the phrase, and they will be fine. And they were, coming out. These guys look healthy. All looked, everybody, the team, everybody coming out of the swim looked in good shape. Those that did have a bit of a shake, was warned about it. Just had to sit fire, hold fire. They went through their regime. So there was just, obviously coming out. They were obviously cold coming out, but then we did get a sort of trend in rewarming. But I sort of did have some concerns as okay, one leg, but how is this going to go for the second leg? But things did seem to maintain and relatively straight.
I think our body temperatures, I think with the probes, I think it was a bit of a shocker, like 28s and 27s. Clinically you should be flown immediately to the hospital.
And that's when I'm seeing these temperatures of people in a resource room, we're doing rewarming measures, concerned about the phrase gentle body handling, and in case they precipitate a cardiac arrest, and just what's going on. But it was, but no, it was fine.
So yeah, so we have all the readings here. Again, with pulse, pulse is pulse, as in the water temperature, air temperature. I think it was our own stats that we wanted to see. Of course, competition, who was the coldest? And I think let me just going to apply that, thanks to Declan, the filter. So I think Colm got the coldest, 26.65. So Colm, use a badge on your way to you to send me your address, so I'm sending that to you.
Darren, were you getting the defib ready at this point?
That's the harsh reality. Is speaking to the skipper of the boat, that as it's like, you cannot emphasize, the importance of somebody like Infinity, world-class experts, and anybody doing this swim, those are the people you need, because they were on top of everything. They were superb in every aspect of what they provided. But having a chat with Skip beforehand is like equipment. They provided a defib, but says, I'm going to bring another one just in case. And that's the harsh reality I had it I had it ready, had it hiding behind the back, and just having a mental plan in my own head. It's like how we would proceed, seeing these temperatures. But so it just would love to do, somebody of more sort of, as Ger was saying, there's probably ways that you could adapt this to actually get a true core temperature, when you're doing the mouth, and just putting this probe further in. Clearly the accuracy of a 26 whatever may not reflect true core temperature, but it certainly, we were able to identify trends that they,
I think it's added to I think we obviously talk about recovery, how we've done the recovery is, I think the trends that we were seeing here, and even on the boat, we're able to say, the swimmer is actually slowly recovering. But it's a lot of visuals as well to say we keep him in the recovery for 1 hour, and he has to perform his squats and his calisthenic movements that we were training for, to be able to bring the core temperature back up again. And we wouldn't let the swimmer out of that area for 1 hour until we're actually, Darren was actually okay with it, saying, he's fine, she's fine. And they can go off and sort of get hot fluids into them and stuff like that. So there was that set protocol of swimmer out, swimmer dressed, observations, recovery, which was assisted by another crew, Kelly, and then monitored again, and then recovery again. We're looking for a second wave of after drop, and then recovery again, and then hot drink, and that process was about an hour minimum.
Okay.
And I think every swimmer, obviously everyone, doesn't matter if you feel great or I'm fine, every swimmer had to go through that protocol that was set in stone, that everyone goes through it, and then they can out the other end,
And did anybody struggle? Was the 3 hours, would you say that 3 hours was sufficient? Was it too little for some, or how did that go?
I mean, the
recovery, the in between each, was it 3 or 5 hours you did?
5 hours.
5 hours.
No, I think again with the lower guys with BMI, they struggle a small bit more. So, but again, they were fine. I mean, they were quite strong. We had a couple of, I would say, obviously need assistance getting dressed. Everyone needs assistance getting dressed. But there was no, I would say, no casualties as such where we really had to work on the person to get him back up to, get him ready to go swim again. The training definitely kicked in, the hard training kicked in. Now, if you ask some of them, would he have liked to gone in for a third rotation? I reckon there'd be a few hands not going up, which is fine. I selected and I put a time of 14 hours onto the swim, and I based my selection based on that, my own prediction of the time, how long it'll take us, based on swim speed and stuff like that. So I kind of knew that my top three were going to be a third rotation people, but didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, no, that's good. That I think mentally, the thought of going in that third time, it is hard just going in the second time. I have not done this in any of those temperatures, but I understand that a little bit. But it's the rewarming and the different the space that you had in the boat actually, and you had these did you say calisthenic type of exercises?
Yeah, I think we have a video somewhere. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, because in a confined space, you do wonder, how do people warm up?
Confined space, it's really important to understand that you're teaching people on the beach, right? Okay, that's fine, right? But then you're putting them on a confined space, and not everyone can handle that change between you're on a beach, you got loads of air, next minute you're on a boat, your gear is moving around. You've lost your coordination, you've no Wi-Fi for your social media. You know, if you take all that stuff away and strip, obviously you weren't allowed GPS watches also. You take away all the meters, all the calculations, and bare swimmer, cap and goggles, togs. You know, some swimmers can handle that, some swimmers can't. You know, they throw the rattle out the cot and say, oh, well, I want this, and they, you know, it's fine. But that sometimes happens to swimmers on the confined space. So I was trying to get prepared for that by training that when you do your 1 hour swim, you come out and stand. We used to have a car mat, stand on the car mat and recover on the car mat for 1 hour, because that's the space you're going to be in. So we were recalculating that, and we've done that many times on the beach, and the swimmers that done it found it much easier to do on the boat because we practiced on the beach, and that really worked out, you know.
Yeah, I've got the video here that you sent through with the medical observations.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Share that.
Just for the people that had stop us talking. These are quick videos.
There you go. Just get it to the start here.
Yeah, so you can see, well, Darren, you can take it from there if you want.
Yeah, it was just obviously. Vincent now is one of our lower BMI swimmers. To just give you an idea, like he has a full-on shakes, you know. Colm, big guy, very strong in the cold.
Your temperature for your improve your mouth.
It's just keeping things simple, just temperature, finger probe, see what we could get out of it. But
yeah.
Did you estimate how many calories that you used during the swim?
No, but again, if you know, again, your GPS watch can do it for you manually. So now that's all gone. Oh. So to be honest with you, I don't know. I just think just keep snacking. But hydration became a big issue because you're putting the physical effort into the swim. The amount of energy to do this, you know, and to get in and swim an hour.
You had a good like several weeks just eating in Scotland and all the cafes from one to the next, having fish and chips and battered sausages. And
well, I tell you, well, that's what I said. A bit of fat helps in this game, you know. I think we have one of our training videos there as well, the kind of conditions we trained in, and there's a picture of us actually practicing the squats on the beach. I don't know if that's at hand, Steve, just to show our audience there.
When you in?
Yeah, just give an idea. We were training in lake.
Oh Jesus, that was. Don't get me wet. That's very graceful, Vincent. Very graceful.
We also have a lot of fun in our training as well. So that's always
that's important. I think you've got to, don't you?
Yeah, well, Kelly adds a lot of fun. That's Dave. Again, that temperature was about 6 degrees. So again, conditioning in the sea wasn't cold enough. So you go to altitude lakes or higher lakes. So it's kind of rough wild water swimming, but this prepare you for lower temperatures, you know. And this is kind of a standard place I've been training for years. It's called Lochbray in County Wicklow. Dangerous, but you got to understand the lake and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, a comment to that the sea temperatures are not as cold as they usually are.
Kelly, let's go, Kelly.
No, the sea temperatures, I think we got lucky, to be honest with you. I expected early sevens. I think our lowest temperature was 7.6, I think, in our swim.
Yeah.
Celsius. So I think we kind of looked, but the air temperature was about 7 also.
I want to chip in, Jerry. You said about getting lucky, but as I say, watching it from the outside is the phrase "train hard, fight easy." You know, you just had to put yourself through the bodies through that temperature. And a couple of comments from the guys go, "Geez, it maybe just wasn't as cold as what I thought." And I think because obviously still North Channel that time of year, it's still cold, but it was. I think it wasn't lucky. I think it was an element of it was.
Yeah, that's true.
And it did give that boost of you had gone in, you did your swim, but the, guys coming out, hot, you should train colder, and that I think that's a key element of anybody thinking to
Yeah, I think so. I look, I train like this all the time for Monday stuff, and here we are in Glendalough again, another cold, like wind coming right in your face. Our clothes got blown everywhere when we came out. Rough water swims. I know these are extreme conditions, but we were training around the corner in these conditions, because you just got to get ready.
Yeah.
That's the blank one.
And the sea state was in your favour as well, wasn't it? On the day, it was quite a slight.
We had a window of 10 days in the tidal slot, and we luckily got 1 day out of 10. We had two storms on the first week, which was gone, and the more we went on, the later the daylight got. So that means we knew we're going to be finishing at night, and we had a possibility of starting the window. We would have been finished at day, which would be ideal, but obviously not. So we got lucky, and there was and then we were at risk of fog. The wind had dropped. The wind had dropped. Actually, I was practicing our squats now. Actually, you can pause that one if you could. Actually, that's okay. Yeah, sorry, that's just the way we were practicing. We were practicing our squats in our small space and getting prepared. And this is the kind of movements we were doing on the boat, on the beach, and then on the boat. So we were doing sets of 15, 4 sets of 15. The first couple are slowly because the swimmer is slightly incoherent, it's slightly out of balance. So we do them nice and easy. And our assistant, Kelly, there, she was brilliant. She was able to count you down 15 up, nice controlled breaths afterwards, relax, and then repeat the process again, and then medical check, fine, okay, looking good, and then we'd repeat that again by 4 by 15. So that was a structure we put in place. It's not new or anything. It's like it's structured movements. Squats is a way of getting that cold blood back in the core again, And then again, we train early mornings. That was 7 a.m. in the dark. Believe me, if you can get in the water in that time, you'll do anything. It's very tough.
Was anybody seasick at all?
Niamh, I think, was seasick purely because she went down to the bunk, and the boat was sort of rocking a bit, and I'm not surprised that she got sick. Now we did have I don't know the name of the seasickness injections, Aaron, or the.
It was one of those. We had a range of medications should we need it, primarily for the crew, because it was one of those ones of actually just being fearful of, just as we're navigating the rules of this year, of actually giving medications which could interfere with the swim. So the honest answer is, obviously Niamh had a wee bit of it, but we didn't end up giving anything in the end, and that was just probably something from my own sort of. Yeah,
I think we had a precautionary because of the lack of some experience on the boat.
Yeah.
We had it because, as you know, we missed the rotation, it's game over. And we had it as a backup to a backup. And we never used it, but the crew were using scopoderm patches which go on the side of their neck. And the crew were ingesting tablets then regularly about 2-3 days beforehand. So we're taking quells, which are kind of off the shelf medical tablets for seasickness. So we were taking seasickness quite seriously. That would actually scupper the whole swim. Yeah. So thankfully that didn't happen. But again, this is all the finer detail that goes into a swim of this size, that you've got one shot at it. And if the North Channel's kind to you, then you get your shot. But things can go wrong if you haven't got this structure, what's in front of you, even down to the, as you can see, the tops, the jackets. I know they're only finer points, but these add to, is there actually a lot of work gone into the swim, or is it just a bunch of,
Yeah, you'll all look, you know, I mean, some of the pictures you shared with us, you know, the achievement, the accomplishment, and the team, you know, it looked like such an amazing team. And you know, I think that is one of the most important things, that you're all communicating with each other, and you know,
yeah, we had a structure. We had a good structure, and in fairness, the team had confidence in me to answer all their questions and answer what ifs. And well, some things I can't do what ifs. They come away with different swimmers, and they come away believing that nothing's impossible after doing something like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of message that, and the people up in Donaghadee and Bangor were absolutely incredible to us. The welcome, the open arms, the send off we got was just exceptional. I've never seen anything like that, and definitely not in a relay. In a solo, I've seen the kind of magnitude, the accomplishment of a solo of the North Channel. But for a relay, a bunch of dubs coming up, you know what I mean? You know, I don't know if there's a video of the start there. Like, see, there might be one there of the actual start. I think it's another one there, Steve. I think.
Different one, yeah.
I think it's another one. But anyway, we'll try and find that in a sec. Just give an idea that just the support and the care and the love around us was massive. It was very hard not to fail. Yeah. With that kind of empowerment between our partners. You know, there's me standing there. That was the start of the swim. Do you know what I mean? And the music was going. In a sec, and I just put these slides together. So sorry if they're a bit amateurish, but we'll try our best. So these are people taking pictures of from the shore out. That's actually my first rotation there.
In the dark, setting off in the dark.
Yeah, in the dark. And I like swimming in the dark, and other people do too. It's kind of peaceful.
Yeah. Looks like quite good conditions there. I know that's just the first leg.
It was very good. We were just the start, actually. You can see the music going, you know. You can see everyone on shore. Let's pause that for a second. You can see
good atmosphere.
You'll see everyone on shore there. Like, there's about 40 people with head torches there, like, you know, ready for me to swim in and touch land. And I'm trying to compose myself and keep my pressure down.
Don't stop.
So, you know, you realize, and I think the experience to actually to control that, I think it's, I'm glad I accepted the challenge of actually being first, you know. And you can see where I'm swimming in, to see all the head torches there, like, you know, they were shining my way. I had to go in and touch rock, obviously,
I was just sending a picture of Vincent to wife out before it got dark, and he seemed to be heading off strong. Steve did absolutely brilliantly, swimming up into the sunset like that. She was in the twilight, so just got in.
And the positive people like Edward there, and thanks Jacqueline for the videos as well, and Ger Devon, and you know, you have to have good energy on a boat to succeed in this kind of level. You know, it isn't just a swimmer's game. It's all encompassing the whole lot, you know. And Jacqueline was doing a few roving reports, which is good. And I'll collaborate them together and share on YouTube the whole lot when I get a chance, you know.
It's a lot to take in, and probably a lot of inquiries as well after this. And we were chatting just before a lot of the audience arrived about this relay setting a precedence for, you know, and opening up, you know, the floodgates really of people wanting to attempt this. Do you want to share a wee bit of what your thoughts are on that, or what your plans are?
Sure, yeah. I think it's I've definitely opened a can of worms, all right. And thankfully the ILDSA backed me and the team to perform this. And I think with the new set of rules that are in place, I think the guidelines are set that other swim teams, I wouldn't say solos now, I'd say swimming teams of 6 at the minute, would be able to take on this kind of challenge. And there's no reason why the CSPF or the CSA of the English Channel Association wouldn't would also follow suit. I think it's there. I think we gladly share the information that we've gained from this. I think it's just another opportunity that swimmers maybe are looking for, another direction, another endurance challenge. I think, that's the way we are. We look for different things, and, English Channel in the summer isn't bad enough. You have to go in the winter, There's your reward. The medical officer told us to have that, didn't it? So yeah, so I believe it's. I'm sure the inquiries are flooding in, and I've no doubt they're coming into all the associations. It's just another. Maybe there's a two-way at one stage. Maybe there's a solo. I don't know about solo. That's a different animal. I mean, but certainly, I would recommend it. I would recommend it, and I think the associations are. I don't know. It's just it's thrown out a whole new program for people to follow, and I gladly help people if they wish. Advise them, basically what we know. But again, the associations have set the ground rules, and they have to protect the channels and protect the team on board and stuff. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing that you've documented so much for people to come up behind you as well, so that they know really how you did it, how to prepare for it, and the pitfalls of it, and also for Darren, being in attendance like that as well. I know there's a medic on a lot of channel crossings anyway, but possibly learning from the medic's point of view as well, observations and like you say, preparing for the worst, Darren. In a confined space, it's there's a lot of logistics involved in that.
There's a lot, yeah, and I think that's why I wanted to share this. That realize that this was a long time in preparation. It took myself and say Infinity and Padraig and Jacqueline years. We've been together, of doing things and different challenges and coming together with this kind of information and knowledge from around the world we swam in, to be able to, come together as kind of professionals and discuss it and find the best way, which we did. We did find the best way, and that took like 10 years of all our our swimming lives to be able to get to this point. And experience, maturity, knowledge, direction, and leadership qualities, all that comes into it. So yeah, and obviously then a medic like Darren now complements the whole thing to me.
Reassures, looks after the comments Niamh was saying earlier on, how calm you were. You were a calming influence on the team.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely, yeah. So listen, questions and answers if anyone wants any.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, we've got a few minutes left.
I've got a quick question, Ger. Have you any other projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know whether the body will take any more, honestly, at this kind of level. And plus, my wife is probably definitely going to leave me. So I'd say no. I'd say I have a couple of injuries I have to deal with as well. I have an elbow injury that it's not going away. So I'm going to have to get I think I might have to get some surgery on it. I'm not too sure. So nothing, I'd say, nothing in the next 5-6 months, I'd say. But then, yeah, I have a couple of, I'd say more, I'm very much in looking at how long you can do in sub 10 degrees, It's something that I've been fascinated. I done some stuff last year. I swam a 10-kilometer swim in 8.2 degrees. And that's something that I was toying with about, can I go longer? Can the body absorb that kind of amount of punishment, So I don't know. I'm sort of enjoying, I'm actually back in the pool, to be honest with you. I know, a soft lad, yeah. But I tell you, I never
said that. Just after everything, all your accomplishments, and you're back in the pool now.
I know, but I have to get a bit of heat in you too to recover the body as well. And I'm saunas and steam rooms work and nice frothy cappuccinos. You know what I mean? So yeah, so look, it's always with me, Steve. I've always got stuff going on. Nothing to this level now that we've done. I think it's the audience and the kind of feedback which I still get. Even though I was in Austria the weekend, I was still getting it over there. People were amazed by this. You know, I think you know that's fantastic. It's reached out to so many people, and the swimming community kind of went, "Wow, like that's spectacular." But still a 6-person relay, you know. But they kind of got to how hard this is to do. And I think, you know, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Harry's just come in with a good question, actually, Ger. I just asked him about your recovery for the days afterwards. What did that look like?
Well, there's about 12 pints of Guinness there. Who is that?
Barry Cullen.
Okay, how you doing? Yeah, no, we were such a high, to be honest with you. There wasn't much. We were definitely fatigued. I think it was more the week afterwards. I'd say I was zonked for 2 weeks, to be honest with you. I was literally, well, for me, as being the leader and all the weight of the world on me, I was completely zonked for 2 weeks. You know, 10 hours sleeps. I'm just, you know, I eating patterns. I was completely out of sorts. So, but no long-lasting recoveries or anything bar nothing. Nothing, to be honest with you. Just definitely when I got back in the pool, the body needs heat to recover. The muscles need heat. Simple as that. Yeah. And I think I slowly got back into that, and I was enjoying actually being warm for a change. You know. Yeah.
So. And you can get a bit of distance, a bit more distance, rather than in 7-8 degree water as well.
Yeah. I've kind of been back. I always find it very hard to go from pool to cold water. Like example, like I've been in the pool, say I went back in for say a solid month. I've been training with a few friends in English Channel this year, and I've been, you know, hitting 25K a week kind of stuff. Yeah. And then I had an opportunity to go to Austria, which was 3.9 degrees, and I had to readapt back into that temperature. And I was really struggling with that, and that was hard for me to actually re-acclimatize, because the body doesn't want to do it. It's just saying, I love the heat. What are you doing to me? You know. So I did acclimatize back into it, and I had a good swim, 1,200 meter swim in Austria and in 4 degrees. Recovery was strong, but again, years of practice. But you know, you have to be kind to your body. The cold will beat the crap out of it, and it will only take so much. So just remember, it takes its toll on you. You know.
Yeah. Maybe a relay swim in the Caribbean could be a good project.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about going to India actually for some reason. I have been fascinated with India. It's 32 degrees in the Gandhi. You know?
Wow.
So I don't know. I think, you know, I've been swimming in -1 and I want to go to 32. So that's the opposite end. You know.
Now you're going into the other extreme.
Yeah, it's a bit extreme, but you know, there's swims around the world. But to be honest with you, there's swims in your doorstep, which I promote quite heavily. There's some beautiful swims in your coastline. Ireland has a beautiful coastline. England, Scotland, Wales, stunning coastlines. There's so many swims. You don't really have to go into mainland Europe to actually appreciate what's in front of you.
That's
and I think, you know, I think with COVID and stuff, there's one good thing that it brought us awareness into actually looking at your doorstep and say, wow, like I didn't realize, I just took this for granted and I'm swimming here and pools are closed. You had all this ability, all this in front of you. Like our local beach I used to be training there on my own, and now you couldn't get room on it, you know what I mean? It was fantastic to see. So I think, you know, just look at that. I think it's brought that to the fore where it's right there in front of you. Yeah. The coastline, yeah. You guys are in Hebrides. I'm coming, by the way. I told you that. I'm coming.
Well, you have to. I mean, I'm still trying to you know, get to all the places that I want to just on Lewis alone, you know, and we've got 8 islands here, but just on one island alone, there's just so much undiscovered areas. And it's the same for everybody around the world, the country, you know.
And show off your spotlight, show off your coastline or your lake if you don't get to a coastline. Yeah, absolutely. Lovely rivers, you know, show off interior. I'm not talking about coastline. There's lots of people who are landlocked and rivers and lakes. Show them off. Show the world your beautiful spot. You know what I mean? It's so much out there, and it's generally free, which is good. You know.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
thank you so much, Ger and Darren, for sharing that with us tonight. And I'm sure that there'll be even more inquiries for somebody will be thinking about it for next year. And Infinity Channel will probably be inundated with requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they deserve this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job. And but listen, thank you all very much. And Darren, thanks a million. Steve, Norma, and all the audience. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And I'll see you soon.
Been fascinating. Some lovely comments coming through there for both yourself and Darren. Thanks very much, guys. That's been really interesting.
A relay swim to the Hebrides? Oh, definitely. Across the Minch, no bother.
Hey, are we still live? Are we or not? No.
We are live, yeah.
Still live, yeah. What are you going to say, Ger?
Remember this the last time we slipped up, me and Jamie, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Listen, there's so many. There's definitely something. I'm definitely North Scotland is because it reminds me of the Causeway Coast, which is one of my favorite places in Ireland for swimming, and you know, it's just stunning. I mean, I know it's rugged and it's hard, but I don't know. There's something beautiful about that, you know, that really attracts.
Yeah, the black rock. That's what I like. Is
the lava. You know,
and
you know, I think it's truly endless. You know, and again, I luckily I live in the coastline, so for me, lakes. You know, I have some beautiful lakes in Wicklow. You just, you know, obviously sea swimming is more visual and stuff like that. And again, lake swimming is harder because of buoyancy and stuff. Do you have many lakes in Hebrides? Are you all coastline?
We've got it's mostly the coast. It's mostly sea swimming I do anyway. But to get to a loch here, it's usually really peaty and boggy, or there's maybe an old wreck of a car if it's beside a road, you know. So there's only a couple of lochs that we swim in here. One of them is about 5 kilometers long, so we've done that one a few times, but not it's sea. You know, we're a group of islands, and there's just so much coastline here.
Yeah. It's funny. I've done a few river swims over the years in UK and Wales, and I found them stunning, absolutely stunning.
I've never swum in a river before. We don't have rivers